everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We're really excited today. We have another interview that our Good Witch fans are going to be really excited about. We are talking with Jason Diaz today, and he is playing Carter on this season of The Good Witch. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and I'm so excited to be here. And Jason, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Hey, Rachel. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so what we've been doing lately with this crazy time that we've been talking a little bit quarantine at the beginning of the interviews and just asking how are you doing? How are you surviving this crazy time?
That is the $1 million question these days.
Yeah.
I've been doing pretty good. I think it was a little harder for me at first.
Yeah.
Because everything just kind of came to a halt. But with time, kind of just got used to it, and
you got a new normal.
Yeah, I've just been watching a lot of movies and Netflix. Not much else to do. So I have been trying to exercise as much as possible, just because I feel mentally better if I can go for a run or something and not just be stuck inside all the time. But
has that been your main exercise? Going running?
Right now it is.
Yeah. Are you doing any
closed?
Doing any yoga or anything like that?
No, I have about as much flexibility as I don't even know what to compare it to. Just not much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is interesting because we've had all of these different things that people have been doing to try to entertain, because I think we're just also bored. That people are doing all this free stuff, free classes, free online, whatever. But I don't know. I think that we still just want to just get outside, especially when we're told we're not supposed to be outside. It's very tempting.
Not supposed to do something that you always want.
I know.
Yeah. Especially with the nice weather coming now, it's getting harder and harder to sit inside.
Yeah. Well, I noticed on your Instagram, you made this Rambo little movie thing. And so I was wondering if that was something you've been doing to pass the time.
Yeah, I
little movies
pretty early in the quarantine because that video came like 2 weeks into quarantine and my boredom was at an all-time high already. But yeah, I actually I had the Nerf guns and I was like, you know what? I'm going to set up a little obstacle course. And then when I did it, I was like, let's put this on camera. It's a lot of fun. I will say, however, my dog was not a fan. He was terrified of the sound of the Nerf gun. She was not impressed.
That's funny. Well, I mean, if we can torment our dogs in quarantine, that's entertainment enough.
Right? Poor thing was in the corner like, what are you doing?
That's funny. Have you made any strange quarantine purchases?
Yes,
you've been pretty good.
I don't think is strange, but my fiance is really not a fan. I bought a fedora, and I was like, "Hey, look at this!" And she's like, "What is on your head?" So that was, I guess, the strangest you could say purchase that I've made.
You're just trying to channel like Frank Sinatra, and
that's it. I'm gonna come out of quarantine with a bunch of different random looks. Not settled on any, just a bunch of random put together things.
It would be a good look for you. That's funny. Yeah, I was pretty good. I've been pretty good as far as strange quarantine purchases. I probably the weirdest one was I bought like 5 gallons of water when it first happened, and because my mom was like, well, what do you have water in case something happens? And I'm like, I don't know. She says, well, you can just use containers. I'm like, I don't have containers. I don't know what's going on. So I bought like 5 gallons of water, and they're just like there I guess I'll be set if something happens to the water, but it's ridiculous.
Especially off at the start when everything was just selling out because people were freaking out.
Yeah.
That's probably
I'm like, well, I mean, I guess it never hurts to have water, I guess. I don't know. It's a weird situation.
That's for sure. That is definitely you're bulk ordering things that you never thought you would be stocking up on. So
we did have an earthquake here in Utah, so maybe it wasn't too bad of an idea. Again, I forget what the number of the decibels was, but it was like it caused like very minor damage, but it was.
Well, that's what you need right now on top of
I know.
everything else that's going on. Just some earthquakes thrown in the
Yeah.
mix.
And it was right during like the red, because right now we're in yellow zone, and or whatever phase. We're in the yellow phase in Utah, and we're like at the peak red phase. And there's like an earthquake.
And then there was the earthquakes. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah. So, so you said you've been binging some stuff. You've been watching a lot of movies. Do you have any tips, any suggestions? What you've been enjoying?
Tips for me, especially right now, I find I've been watching a lot of comedy or just lighthearted material in general, because there's enough drama going on in real life right now.
Right.
My go-to is always Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Mm-hmm.
It is my favorite comedy series to watch. But yeah, I've just been kind of digging for new comedies to try and discover.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you watched anything good on Netflix?
You know what? I just started Snowpiercer, which is not a comedy, but
Right.
I just started Snowpiercer. That's actually really good as well.
Yeah. That just. I mean, I've seen the movie, but I
Mm.
haven't watched the series. It just started, right?
Yeah. I think they
Yeah.
have like 2 or 3 episodes up
Mm-hmm.
now.
It's got a great cast. I mean, Jennifer Connelly, she's great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really liked the movie, so I need to give it a shot.
Yeah. The series
Yeah.
was actually, I only watched the first 2 episodes. It's very good so far.
Cool. That's cool. My favorite is McMillions. I don't know if you heard of that it's on HBO, I believe. It's a docuseries about this scam to try to rip off the McDonald's monopoly in the late 90s. It was so entertaining. It was
Really?
really good.
And it's
Yeah.
like, it's a series or it's an actual documentary?
It's a docuseries. Yeah, it's a documentary, but it's so they're gonna make. I think that that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon optioned it. I believe I remember hearing that, and
Already.
it'll be such a fun movie. Because the nice thing about, because a lot of times watching stuff about like scams and Ponzi schemes and stuff like that is hard to watch because people like lives are ruined, you know.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's a victimless crime. Like nobody's hurt. I mean, McDonald's was giving the money away anyway. They just found a way to get it, unfairly. So they'll be punished, but nobody was actually hurt. Nobody's money was actually taken from them except for McDonald's, who was actually already planning on giving the money away. And it ends up involving the mafia, and then like just this most bizarre group of people that get involved in this, and then the investigator, Doug Matthews, his name, he was the best. Like they need to have a show of Doug Matthews investigates whatever. He was like born for television. He was really funny. He was great. And so I loved the show. And they have a podcast that went along with the show by the creators. And so you'd watch obviously I love podcasts. Mm-hmm. So you watch the episode and then you'd listen to the podcast where they have all this behind the scenes and new interviews. And it was so cool. I highly recommend it.
I got to check that out. I hadn't even heard of it.
Yeah, it was really good. That's definitely my favorite thing I've watched during quarantine. It was McMillions.
Amazing. I got to check it out.
Yeah. But there's been a lot of good stuff. And I've finally been able to catch up on some stuff that I just didn't have time for because of Christmas last fall. I finally got to watch Dark Crystal series, and that was amazing. Incredible. The puppetry is just mind blowing.
Right.
Yeah, it really, really impressive. So, well, very good. So when we interview actors, we like to kind of find out what was it that initially inspired you to get into acting?
Oh, good question. Well, it was actually a long process because I got into acting pretty late. Actually, I was 20 years old when I took my first class. The first time I ever stepped foot in a studio, I was 20 years old. But since a very young age, I've always been inspired and motivated by film and television. Like I was the little kid that would watch the movie and then go running around the hallways pretending to be whoever I just watched, which for a long time was Rocky. So going over there and just boxing the air after watching the show. And then it wasn't until I was 20 years old where I finally decided that I did want to give it a try. And I ended up finding a great acting studio in Toronto. And yeah, it just kind of snowballed from there. And I was remarkably not good when I started. It was certainly not something that came very naturally to me, especially at that age. I feel like the older you start, the more like self-defense mechanisms you've put in place already.
Yeah.
And so to try and like chip away at that in front of a class full of people, you know, when you go through your real life and you're trying to avoid any sort of vulnerability, and then someone puts you in front of a camera and lights and they're like, okay, now be vulnerable. And you're like, oh dear.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so for me, it was definitely like a long process to like that I just kept going back to class and chipping away at it. And then eventually, eventually and slowly started to improve. And then kind of,
Yeah.
here I am now.
Very cool. So what were you doing before that? Did you go to school for something else, or did you?
I did. I went to school for business.
Mm-hmm.
And then for a little bit, I ran a night route with a company called Weston's. It's a bread company.
Uh-huh.
And hated it so much because it was night shift. So I'd start at like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I would be working until about 1 p.m. But the job itself wasn't too bad. It was more like when everyone's going out to do something,
Yeah.
you're going to sleep because you got to wake up in like 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard doing night shifts because also you end up with days with just no sleep at all because like things have to get done sometimes. And
During the day when you're done, yeah.
yeah, ooh, yeah, that's hard. That's really, really hard.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool that so you just heard about the classes, or you just kind of, how did you make that step from like, well, I guess I should give this a shot?
Yeah, well, I had always wanted to. When I
Yeah.
was younger, same thing. I had always wanted to get into it, but I was also really shy.
Uh-huh.
And so I never actually got around to doing it when I was younger. And then closer to the time where I finally decided that I was going to join and just give it a shot, I had been playing around with the idea of wanting to join the class. And then I was watching one day, God, I think it was one of the Spider-Man movies. I was watching the behind the scenes, like how it's made and all that. And I just remember watching it and I was like, God, that looks like it would be so much fun, you know, to do that, period, much less get paid for it,
Yeah.
you know? And I was like, you know what the hell, I'm going to give it a shot. And I ended up doing very minimal research. And then I found this studio and I just got lucky because it was a great studio. And I remember calling to get information. And the receptionist was like, okay, do you want to think about it and call us back? And I was like, you know what? No, because if I hang up, I probably won't call you back. So like, let me just go through with it now. And then luckily I did because I absolutely love it.
So was your family surprised? And your fiance, were they supportive and they were cool with it?
Surprised to say the least, especially when especially when I decided to walk away from my other job to focus solely on acting. Because nobody in my family is in the arts, right? So I am first generation in my family in the arts. And so, yeah, that was a fun conversation when I was like, hey, I quit. I'm going to do acting. And they're like, what do you mean you're going to do acting?
I think your first like big role was, or not big role, but your first credit role was on The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, that was like my first
Yeah.
main credit was The
So
Handmaid's Tale.
did you just like freak out? Were you so excited?
Yes, I was,
Yeah.
especially because my of all shows to book for your first time, I booked The Handmaid's Tale, and I was
Right.
like, oh my goodness, can I not get something like a little less pressure than that?
Right.
Um, but yeah, I was really excited because of that, and my fiance was a big fan of The Handmaid's Tale. Um, so yeah, I would when I got on set of that one, I was particularly nervous because of how big of a show and a production it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But that was a great learning experience for sure.
So you were in the you actually your first role for Hallmark was in the crosswords
Yeah,
mysteries,
the
right?
second installment of the Crossword Mysteries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was your role in that one? Were you
I was the teacher's assistant
oh, okay. Yeah.
suspect
Mm-hmm.
in the mystery, in the murder mystery.
So did you get to meet Brennan and Lacey? I mean,
I did. I got to work
so,
with both of them. Yeah,
was that fun?
it was. And well, Brendan as well, but Lacey is so kind.
Yeah.
She's such a sweetheart to work with, and Brendan is such a nice guy to work with as well.
Yeah. That's
Um,
good because we always want our queens of Hallmark to
right? Yeah,
live up to their reputations.
yeah. They're so nice to work with, and they do a really great job of putting the rest of the cast at ease.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah,
That's
and
good.
funny enough, the director of the Crossword Mysteries was actually the director of the first two episodes of The Good Witch
Oh, really?
that I was involved with. So that
Oh,
was a lot of fun
nice.
as well.
That's good. So it was a good welcome into the Hallmark family.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And you have a role on the 100?
Yes, I do. I was actually filming that at the exact same time that I was filming The Good Witch.
Okay.
And that filmed in Vancouver, and The Good Witch filmed in Toronto. So it was
Whoa.
a lot of back and forth traveling. But yeah, the 100 was also a lot of fun and very different. To film them both at the same time was a really interesting challenge because they're both such different genres. And
Yeah.
there's different expectations for both of them.
It's sci-fi, right? The 100?
Yeah, the 100 is sci-fi.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting to play within both of those worlds at the same time was such a unique experience.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. I'll have to check that out. I have not seen that show, but I've heard good things. People like it, so
Yeah, it has a really great fan base,
mm-hmm.
which a lot of those sci-fi shows
Yeah.
tend to have. So
Yeah, no, they do. Well, very good. So yes, so you definitely stood out to us. I mean, we really enjoyed having Joy on the show this season. She's been a great ad. We really like Kat as a new ad to the show, and so when they introduced you as a love interest, that was even more exciting. We were like, woo! And so, are you having a good time playing Carter? Is that a fun role?
yes, it was, and Kat is great,
Mm-hmm.
both as an actress but also as just a person to be around.
Yeah.
Kat is really lovely, and yeah, to come in and to be able to play off of Kat, who is so talented, has been a lot of fun, and a lot of credit just goes to the writing in the sense that the banter back and forth
Yeah.
and the chemistry between Carter and Joy is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it continues to be a lot of fun because they're so. What I love about the characters is that I feel like they mirror each other so nicely. Like they're both so used to being able to smooth talk their way out of things or one up the other person. And they're kind of dealing with themselves right now. It's like they match each other very well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think so too. I really enjoyed the banter between you two, and I don't know, just when you have that chemistry, and so it works really well. And So I was wondering, you have the big dart game
Mhm.
that you have. Would you say that in real life you're better at darts than Kat, or not
Ooh,
so much?
that's a good question. I would like to say that on that day, I had a particularly lucky good day.
Oh, good.
Um, Funny enough, actually, a lot of that dart scene, we threw our own darts.
Hmm.
Um, and uh, and so it was actually like we just literally got to play around and play darts in that scene, and they so many takes because I had to, especially that closing shot, um, where I have to hit the specific
Right.
number. I had to hit the 20 with so many takes to trying to hit it. And then to have to go back into acting and not go into excited mode when I finally did hit it was the hardest part.
Yeah, and you're like, I should have paid more attention in college
I
playing
know,
darts. That's great.
but yeah.
Yeah. It was fun. It was really fun. And so you're going to be the head carpenter helping to renovate Martha's house,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so I was curious if you have ever done anything like that.
I have not. I have not, and that was a running gag on the set because as the season goes on, of course, the renovations go on, and there's some scenes where I have to be doing my job, and I'm always sitting there and I'm like, "Can you see my hands in this?" Because anyone who's ever sanded something is gonna call me out for never having sanded in my life.
You're like, what is this tool? I don't know what's going on.
Particularly like my dad, who is really handy. He's gonna watch the show and be like, "What are you doing?" So yeah, I remember there was one scene in particular where I had to be sanding, and I was like, "Can you see my hands? Because I'm not sure what the proper sanding technique here is." So I had to go do a quick YouTube search.
All right. It's really method.
Mhm.
Your
Mhm.
technique there. That's
Just show
great.
up and I am the carpenter today. So.
Yeah. Well, we're really excited to see where everything goes with Joanne Carter, and we've been having a lot of fun with the role. I mean, it must be kind of a bit daunting to go into a show that's so established
Mhm.
and be a new character, but it probably helped having that Kat was new as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because usually when you join a show that is that established, you're joining opposite someone who's been on the show for as many years.
Yeah.
And in this situation, yeah, Kat and I were both brought in relatively the same time. I think she had 1 or 2 episodes under her belt before my first episode. Um, so yeah, it was really fun to kind of dive into it with Catherine almost at the same time.
Well,
Uh,
great.
and it
So,
also helps, like it always helps when the cast is really easy to get along with,
yeah.
which that entire cast is. When they're so welcoming, it's so much easier to just feel relaxed and get into doing the work
Yeah.
as opposed to feeling like you're kind of tiptoeing on somebody else's set.
Yeah, everybody we've had on from Good Witch has just been the best. I mean, we've had Catherine Disher has been on our show 5 times. We love her so much, and she's so funny.
Yeah,
uh,
Catherine Disher is so fun to be around as well.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, so we like to end our interviews with some fun, silly questions.
Oh,
So
right.
here we go. First one: what is the best ice cream flavor?
Ooh, chocolate chip.
Okay. What is your favorite color?
Blue.
Very good. Okay. What music are you into right now?
Right now, I am usually a hip hop fan, but for some reason, right now, I have turned the Metallica's cover of "Turn the Page" on repeat for like days.
Very
People in my
good.
house must be so annoyed for days.
They're like, yeah, please stop.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. What is your go-to date night food?
Dessert. I think my favorite date night food is a dessert place.
Yeah.
Which for
Okay,
me
good.
in particular, a chocolate lava cake is my go-to every single
Mm, that sounds good. Okay, what is your go-to date night activity out if you're out and about
time. About
after quarantine?
afterwards. I love going to the movies.
Yeah.
The movies for me is my favorite night out. And luckily, my fiance loves going to the movies as well. So,
Yeah. What do you think is a great date movie?
ooh, I think. Well, I mean, rom-coms is very appropriate for date nights.
Yeah.
In particular, I love. Um, there's a movie with Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling, Crazy Stupid Love.
Oh yeah, that one's a good
Probably
one.
my favorite
Underrated.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
I also agree. I think it's so under. It never gets brought up when people talk about
Yeah.
rom-com movies.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're in an established couple, I think that rom-coms is a good choice. If it's a first date, bad choice.
Right.
Terrible choice. I think going to a movie that's just a little bit scary, but not like murders and
Like
horrible
terrifying.
things. Just like enough that you like maybe want to cuddle a little tiny bit,
Right.
is perfect for a date.
Yeah. And you always do the movie first. Because it usually goes dinner and a movie. I find the movie first.
You understand. This has been what we have been saying on the podcast for many, many years. Is yes, because then you have, especially on a first date, then you have something to talk about at dinner. Yeah,
Yeah. Otherwise, you
brilliant.
go from talking at dinner to silence for like 2 hours.
Right.
And you're like, so, that was a good movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very good, very good. Okay. So dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Okay. Beaches or mountains?
Mountains.
Would you rather be in suit and tie or sweats?
Oh, sweats. Sweats for sure.
What's your favorite holiday to celebrate?
Uh, would New Year's count as a holiday?
Sure, it counts.
New Year's.
Oh, look at that. Very good. Okay, and I'll since you're in Canada, there's not that many Hallmark movies. These are our last questions. What's your favorite Hallmark movie? But you probably haven't seen that many. You could say, what's your favorite rom com?
My favorite rom-com. Ooh, I already spoiled it. So Crazy Stupid Love is my favorite rom-com.
Yeah, it's a
But
good one.
outside of that, any of Matthew McConaughey's old stuff.
Oh yeah,
And I love it.
How to Lose a Guy, 10
In 10
Days.
days
I think that was the pinnacle of Matthew McConaughey rom coms.
of his rom-com career.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's his best one. Like he had some not great ones, but
Yeah. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is a pretty good one.
yeah, it's a pretty good script, I think.
Yeah.
But
it's a lot of things added up that like a lot of us just do anyways.
mm-hmm.
But it's like blown up and highlighted like, oh, I see why that annoys you.
Well, it's really hard in that kind of a movie, that kind of rom com, to keep both characters likable, because when they're kind of antagonistic against each other, then the whole enemies to friends kind of thing, usually you just end up hating the people so much that you don't care.
Right.
So it's a tricky balance, but I think that they pull it off pretty good in that one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, very good. All right, you passed the test. You can keep making homework. Well, very good. So, do you have social media that you'd like to share, or anything like that?
I mean, I'm just on Instagram, and it's I am Jason Diaz,
Great.
and that is all the social media that I can get away with while still being productive in life.
Okay, good. All right. Well, we'll put that in the description section. Make sure people, if you're listening, make sure you're following Jason and let us know what you think about the different things we talked about. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. That would be great. And you can follow me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out so much. We also have our Patreon group and we have our merch store. So please check that out as well. And thank you so much, Jason. This was really fun. And we'll have to have you on again. Hopefully we'll get to see more of Carter.
Well, thank you so much. Definitely would love to come back. And I'm glad you guys are enjoying Carter. It means so much.
Yeah, it's been really fun. We'll talk to you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.